Welcome to the Creative Revolution. Creative Revolution. Creative Revolution. Creative Revolution. Creative Revolution. This is a broadcast where faith meets creativity, and we explore life as artists and truth seekers under the reign of the ultimate king, Yeshua HaMashiach. Through art, truth, and scripture, we'll uncover what it means to live our best lives now, rooted in the reality of God's kingdom. Join us each week as we dive into conversations about faith, freedom, creativity, all while uncovering the truth in a world full of distractions. Why? Because it's time to empower ourselves to create boldly, live authentically, and stand firm in God's purpose for our lives. This is the Creative Revolution. Creative Revolution. Creative Revolution. Creative Revolution. Creative Revolution. Where faith and creativity collide to inspire a vibrational shift. Let's create. Let's thrive. And let's glorify God. Together, 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 together. Forever, 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 forever. Amen. 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 Amen.
Everything goes somewhere.
I'm just gonna be honest.
Welcome to episode 2 of System Error, the problem with reality as we know it.
I am your host, Julie G.
And Adam, here again, with a very, very important topic that we started last time, and we're here to continue that.
Yes.
Continue the narrative, to continue the conversation.
Glitching up the matrix. So to get it started, quick little question. Have you ever looked up to the sky or out at the city or just the world around you and asked, like, what is this? Where are we? What is life? What is our purpose? Why are we here? Where do we come from? And what are we meant to do? More importantly, who told us what this place is and why did they tell us what it is and this narrative? Why is that? And so, do you ever wonder about the truth? About the real reason we live the way we do? So disconnected, so confused, so divided, and for me, so exhausted. So I think about these questions every day. Well, maybe not every day, but I think about them, and I have thought about them a lot. I question everything. I search for the pattern, and I try to understand the nature of this reality, what it is and what it isn't. And here's what I found. So there is truth, and if there is truth, there is another side to that. And so there are lies. There is truth, and there is deception. And there is also a way forward, and there is a path to destruction. Sadly, most people are walking the wrong path. We've all seen that meme where all of the individuals are heading off the edge of a cliff, and there's just that one dude walking in the other direction. And I feel that. I identify with that guy who is walking in the opposite direction. And so those folks who are headed headlong off the edge, walking the wrong path, they're not doing that because they're evil, but they're doing it because they've been deceived. So they've either started to believe or they're already believing that they know the truth. And so they stopped looking or seeking for more. Or they've also kind of just gave up and stopped caring altogether. And so that's why we're here today. That's why we're doing this podcast. That's why we've got this broadcast going out into the airwaves. Because we care. We care.
And as we said in episode 1, we have a message to share. And, this is a heavy burden on my heart, anyways, to share this message because I believe that it's extremely important for humanity, for the world, and for the future of everybody listening. So this message is for the seeker. It's for the one looking for the truth, the one who still has questions, the one who is brave enough to admit they may not have it all figured out. But let me be clear, if that's you, you need to prepare yourself mentally, physically, and spiritually. This is the final call to wake up, This is the time to get on the boat or be left behind. Because what's coming, it's no joke. This is real life, and we are at a point in history unlike any other. The deception is massive. The evil is sophisticated, and the consequences, if we don't act, are unimaginable.
Yeah, it's true when you say, that the evil is sophisticated. I never really thought about it like that, but you're right, babe. Sophisticated. Whew.
Yeah, and there's a whole movement of people who have woken up to this. It's not just us, these two weirdos on this podcast.
Oh, man, there's tons of us out there.
There's a movement behind all this because it's a reality. And, we don't all see everything exactly the same. We've all gone on our own journeys and paths, figuring this all out. And we're all at different stages of awareness. But what we do agree on is we are living in a false reality. A reality manufactured by the powerful, reinforced by the media, and blindly accepted by most people around us. But it doesn't have to stay that way. Not for you and me.
Nope.
You have the ability to listen to this message and make right choices.
Make the choice.
We're having this conversation right here, right now. The one that we can never bring up on a night out with friends, at least not with this much weight to it.
Wait, I don't know, bro, if that's necessarily true.
Our friends sometimes, but
I've just been finding myself more and more and more. I would say maybe that this statement's kind of true 10 years ago, but ever since COVID, I'm actually super grateful for what that did. Is it shone the light on the darkness, and the darkness, a lot of that darkness was exposed, and so now folks are a lot more open to these conversations, whereas before you drop a seed and you're definitely labeled as crazy. Now conspiracy theorists are it's the label you want to have.
We told you so 10, 20 years ago.
Yeah, so I think that these conversations are still controversial, and in the sense that they will get people riled up, and because it is forcing everybody engaged in the conversation to make choices, even you and me, who have done a lot of research and have a lot of things quote unquote figured out. Engaging in a conversation is still going to prove to be challenging if we actually have open minds like we say we do, right? Because it's true, everybody has learned different things, and there are many rabbit holes. And even weren't you talking to a pal not that long ago about some of this millennial reign stuff, and he was like, no, I don't believe that, and he had some whole other thing that he believed about the calendar, and
which I thought that his point could be totally true, but also the millennial reign could be true.
So anyways, my point is that I think you're wrong. Props to Afnan.
Inside joke. But I know that many of you already probably have an opinion on some of these matters, or you may disagree with some of these points. And you may ask the question, why should you believe anything that we say? That's a fair question. And it always comes down to this. Who's telling the truth? Who has the correct information? And why should we trust them? And here's my answer. This is truly through all this web of deception and everything. You can only know the truth, really know the big picture if you're guided by the spirit of truth.
Amen.
And that's the spirit that comes from the Creator.
Absolutely. Tapped into the source.
Truly, this is an age of deceit. If you're going to get the big picture, you're going to need God's help. So set your intention right now to let go of your assumptions, your ego, your fear, and invite the Spirit to guide you. Because if you're not open to the truth, there's nothing we can do.
No. So here's another question. Why do you believe what you believe? Why do you believe what you believe about the world, about politics, about history, and about reality itself? Maybe you believe some things because of personal experience, that pain exists, that love exists, those are real. But the deeper questions, why do we suffer? Why is there evil? What is behind the curtain of the world stage? Those answers won't come from observation alone. They come from spiritual discernment. And yes, you can read books. I have read many. You can watch videos. I too have read countless. You can listen to people talk all you want, and just like you're listening to us talk right now. But you truly need to let the Spirit speak through it all. That's the only way to truly discern what is true. And so that brings me to a huge piece of this. What we believe about world events and history has almost entirely been, guess what?
Manufactured,
made up. It is a storyline, a narrative. So like the television, we all know this. What is it, Adam? The television is what?
It's telling you a vision.
Tell a vision. So it's like literally programming us. It's casting spells. It's telling us what to see, what to believe, what to fear, what to desire, yada, yada, yada. And it's not just TV anymore. It's your phone. It's influencers, your feed, your screen, your school, your job, entertainment, your culture. It is absolutely everywhere.
Speaking the lies and deceit.
Most people, unfortunately, don't even realize that they've outsourced their thinking to the very systems that are enslaving them. So, like, I want you to stop and think right now, where do you get your information? Just think about it. Where are you getting your information from?
From personal experience, from honest research, or from other people repeating what they heard on TV. Most people who believe the COVID narrative didn't do any research. They just followed the herd. They parroted phrases they heard from newscasters and celebrities, and if you challenged them, they got angry. But the truth actually shifted daily. In 1 week, masks don't help. The next week, they're essential. In the 70s, the crisis was global cooling. Now it's global warming. Tomorrow it'll be something else.
Yeah.
The first thing you need to realize if we're going to go forward is 99% of the information that comes your way is manipulated.
Especially if you're getting it from the main line. So like the mainstream. Everything that is on the TV, the radio, and I'm talking also like a lot of stuff on YouTube, Spotify, like all these things. These are all big player media institutions that are all owned by the same folks at BlackRock and or Vanguard.
And even a lot of these like countercultural talking heads are still listening to the wrong feed and promoting lies, or some of them are even hired by the establishment just to create disinformation.
Well, and what's happening now, we see it in like a lot of I listen to this podcast. I don't listen to it anymore because, like I mentioned in the last podcast, I kind of have disassociated myself from everything that's going on, and I'm living in ignorant bliss now. But I listen to these guys have a podcast. It's called Canary Cry Radio, and I've been listening to them for 10 years. Basil and Gons, shout out to you guys. They are OG. I love them so much. But what they talk about a lot is how, because they've been podcasting for a long time, that they've seen this huge shift where they started podcasting 10 years ago and talking about some of these more taboo things, and that was considered alt media, so like alternative media. And now the alt media has been hijacked by the mainstream media, so now they've got two streams where they are utterly influencing humanity. And so alt media isn't even alternative anymore. It's bought and paid for, and it's still towing the line of the narrative. And so you have to, if you really want to get something that is real and authentic, you got to dig deeper. Like this, what we're doing isn't alt media.
This is alt.
No, it's like fringe. It's like 3 people listen. It's like maybe you'll find it if you use the right search term.
Really, there's 99% of the information is completely garbage out there.
Yeah, anyway,
but
yeah.
You got to find that 1% of truth. You know, you got to be
nugget.
And that's the thing. You got to be led by the Spirit to find those streams. And, you know, as you learn and grow in the truth, you'll be able to discern, you know, there's the big picture. Okay, these guys, I know what they're talking about. They fit into this bigger picture. They have a couple extra things and, you know, their own angle and take on this. But you learn to know where to go. And
because it is like a
who to listen
frequency.
to.
It's like a frequency too, because the spirit is not like of the mind, will, or emotion, right? The spirit is a vibrational frequency that lives inside of us, that leads and guides, that directs, right? Whereas like our mind is more like of a processing situation, acts more like a computer where information comes in, we process it, and then we try to make a decision. So all I'm trying to say is that in that it's like a beautiful thing that when we let that spirit lead us and guide us, the truth comes, it hits, it resonates with that frequency, and it truly sets us free. And that is what is so essential, is living in that space that where we're not bound, but we are free, right?
And this is where we're coming from. Like all the information that we're bringing to you in this podcast is from that 1%, from that stream that we've been led to, that everybody else has been led to within the truth movement. And much of what we say has already been proven over and over again, and especially the essentials. Like the truth community is all agreed on the essentials And it's fact. It's written in stone, not just by me, but by many researchers, whistleblowers, insiders, awakened citizens all over the world.
It's like it acts too, like some of these things act as like a foundation, obviously, to build from. And it's sturdy. You know what I mean? With that in mind, it's a lot easier to kind of navigate and even just like process everything. Everything that we're going to get into in this episode, right?
And we're going to expand on this topic in the next episode, but where this all points to, in one of the big things that we've all agreed on, is that there is a conspiracy. There is a New World Order conspiracy, whatever that term is and means in its entirety. That is a reality, and it exists. An elite group of powerful, wicked individuals are planning and actively building a global government. That's fact. They operate through organizations like the UN, the WHO, the WEF, and other things. They control the food, the media, the tech, the schools, the financial systems, and most political leaders, even ones that you think might be free. No, there's no sides. It's all puppets and actors.
All puppets.
This is not a theory. This is not a maybe. This is fact. And it will be the foundation of everything we uncover next.
But I'm thinking just before we get to the conspiracy, we just should share a little bit about how we ended up waking up to truth. I know that I like totally prompted this last time and you said, no, we're doing that at the next episode. So now's the time, right?
Perfect. Do you want to share your story?
Like I said, I touched a little bit on it last time, is that I feel like I kind of came out of the womb inherently awakened to reality. My senses were high. And I say this because not only was I always questioning things, but as we were talking about just a little bit earlier in regards to the spirit, there was a lot of spiritual activity taking place in my day-to-day. And so it's with that reality that I was living in that it was almost like the veil of deception was thin. I could like see through it. And so like I said last time, it caused me to question everything. So even at a young age, I did question everything. And I also started researching things more intensely, I guess, when computers became an accessible reality, because when I grew up as a child, there were no computers and whatnot. But I wouldn't say that I researched things about 9/11. Like for me, when that took place, I kind of thought to myself, okay, I don't think this is real. And I did end up watching like a documentary, can't remember which one, but it kind of just like solidified everything that I had been kind of thinking on my own in regards to the world and its structures. I just totally felt like it was built up around me and it didn't resonate. Like I didn't feel safe. I didn't feel comfortable. I also didn't feel myself. I didn't feel like reality was right. I was like, everything seems to be backwards and slightly upside down. It doesn't quite make sense. And it wasn't until truly that I found Christ Jesus that everything made sense, because then I realized fully, like at the core of my being, I had like an aha, that there is darkness and there is light, and they are mingled and they are fighting for position in our hearts. Because depending on how we live in the light or in the dark, it totally depends on how we show up in the world, how we present ourselves, how we flow, how we speak, how we interact, what we desire, all of these things, right? And so I never bought into it. Like I just never bought into the system and what its offerings were. Like I always thought everything was a bit of a cookie cutter. Like I saw that it was like a preordained path that we were supposed to go down, and I just didn't go down it. I just didn't want to go down it. It didn't make sense to me, and I didn't desire that. I desired something more, something deeper, something true, something authentic, something spiritual, and I found all of that in Christ Jesus. And so I've always also just kind of had things come my way. So it's not like I truly went looking for answers to these questions, but it was rather something would come my way and I would be made aware of something that I think God needed me to know, in order for me to be able to continue living the way he's been calling me to live, right? So, for example, like, it was so weird. Pizzagate. Like, that's the weirdest, one of the weirdest experiences I think I've had as a woman on this earth. I don't even know how Pizzagate came into my realm of existence, but it was there way before it made its actual debut. And I just remember like reading this stuff, and I think I might have been working with Easy, and I'm showing him, I'm like, what the heck? I'm sharing this with Adam. I'm like, this is insane.
Was that before it officially broke?
Yes. And like, so
Where'd you learn that?
That's the thing. I don't even know. So because I was going down like these rabbit holes, listening to like, at that time, alternative media. So I was listening to Canary Cry. I was also listening to this other guy named Pirate Christian Radio. He was super unhinged. So I was listening to like very interesting podcasts who had wild guests on. So that's the thing, is like, this was fringe conspiracy stuff that was like genuine folks, genuine men and women who were like in the trenches of like, say, the CIA, like declassified programs and whatnot. Like, these folks were like on these weird podcasts that I was listening to. And I think that's how things ended up just like coming into my line of comprehension, was through that, really.
When was the first time you heard about the New World Order?
Well, I probably heard about the New World Order when... What was that guy? He was given that speech and he said, "We will launch a new age." Oh, that's Donald Trump. I'm just kidding. No, I feel like
Bush?
it's George Bush, maybe. Like, I can't really
learned
remember.
about the New World Order from George Bush. Wow. Amazing. Those speeches are powerful. Yeah. One of the most quoted, I guess, speeches, other than the JFK one, where JFK got up and said, "There's a big hidden conspiracy behind everything, and I'm going to expose it." And what happens to him?
Dead.
He gets shot like very soon after. But George Bush comes up and says, "We're going to make a new world order, peace and prosperity."
But he was like, with them, not exposing them.
He wasn't trying to expose it. They try and like whitewash it, and they talk about what they're doing like it's normal and like it's supposed to happen. That like they are the true unelected leaders of the world.
When that's not even reality. The reality is that we are living in a kingdom, and that kingdom is ruled by Christ Jesus, and it's unshakable. So it doesn't matter what they think they got going on, some new world order.
Yeah, well, the evil is not going to win, that's for sure.
No,
they may be thinking
no.
that they're winning now and being in control, but really, they're going to get what's coming to them, that's for sure.
Oh, you know what, Adam, too? I think also I did listen to a lot of Alex Jones, I would say, early on.
Yeah.
When Alex Jones wasn't whatever he is now.
Yeah, I think a lot of us learned a lot from Alex, even though he's probably some sort of plant, just pushing people in a certain direction, but like 90% of what the guy was saying like is true, came true.
David Icke too. Yeah, now all these names are just coming back to me. Sorry. I just, full disclosure, I didn't really come to this podcast fully prepared to share how I woke up, because I just woke up from a nap, so.
Well, for myself, I know for me it's been a long journey. I've been on this for 20, 25 years. I remember when I was a teenager, like maybe 19, 20, I was, kind of going my own direction in life. And I remember just coming to my wit's end in my basement and like slamming my head on the ground, beating it on the cement and being like...
Slamming your head?
Yeah, I was just like, God, just give me the truth. I want to know the truth. On all levels, spiritually and everything. And I went on such a journey, like after that, just even learning about the deception in the church and all these things, and it was like my path. It was like my calling to comprehend all the stuff that's going on. So all these things started coming my way. But I remember I was working at a music store, and when 9/11 happened, and I just remember it. coming across the radio and everybody scrambling around, and I didn't really know what was going on. I'm like, what are the Twin Towers? And like, you know, how did they fall? Like, why did they fall? Like, it didn't make any sense to me. And then the manager came in and he turned off all the radio and everything and said, we're not going to have that in here, you know, focus on your job or whatever it was. But I just knew like it sounded so big and crazy. And I'm like, I had to go home and see what was going on. So I told him I was sick, and I went home and I turned on the TV. And I just saw these buildings repeatedly falling down, and it was crazy. You know, sometimes I just wish I could just return to being a kid before all these heavy questions. Life was simpler, but not anymore. 9/11 came along, and everything changed. You know, it was my first time witnessing a psychological operation of that scale. I didn't even know what a psyop was back then. I kind of trusted the news, like it was something that came on.
Did you watch the news?
I less and less when I was a kid. Like my parents always watched it, and I remember waiting like every day to see what's happening. It was maybe thinking it was an accident or a shootout or something like that. So I'd watch it.
And I just watched Cops for that.
But like, yeah, I was like this. I did watch the news. It was like it's crazy how many people were addicted to it.
You know
but
what, Adam, is so interesting. Sorry to just cut you off, but just to say that I actually never watched the news, even though I know you're probably thinking, how is that even possible, considering my dad has CNN on 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and the CBC in his living room. We didn't watch the news at home, ever. So, like, I feel like that also is, like, another reason why I am so awakened. Well, just, like, not programmed, right? Like, the deprogramming section of my life didn't take so long or so hard of a toll on me because I wasn't super programmed, you know?
Anyways, I just turned on the news this time, you know, and I never like thought, maybe the news is just all lies, but something felt off this time. You know, the coverage was strange. It was almost too polished, too synchronized, too dramatic, you know?
Like a movie.
I still didn't wake up right away. I kind of went on my life for a few years until my sister showed me a documentary called Loose Change. That film laid it all out, all the inconsistencies, the cover-ups, the lies. All of a sudden, it all clicked. I didn't transform overnight, but something changed in me. My curiosity was ignited. And I wasn't alone. During that time when the internet was just starting to become a tool for truth seekers, there weren't thousands of videos and channels yet. It was like Loose Change was rare. It was like this type of documentary. It was like, wow, it's cool, underground. Wow, it's exposing the truth. Like it ignited the truth movement. It was powerful. You know, we called it 9/11 Truth Movement, but later it became just the truth movement. Week by week, new revelations surfaced. New lies were exposed. People started making documentaries, sharing testimonies, creating forums. It was overwhelming and addictive. You know, so at first I was filled with fire, but soon it became so heavy. The deeper I looked, the more evil I found. It was heartbreaking. It was maddening. It was isolating.
Yeah.
I became that conspiracy theorist friend, and you know, people didn't want to hear it. They were like, especially back then, it's like everybody thought you were crazy.
Yeah.
Like every single person. You know, they're all asleep, still plugged in. It got lonely. So I took breaks. I had to. Years of research will do that to you. But I kept coming back because the truth doesn't let you rest. Eventually, I developed a pretty clear picture. Some details were still fuzzy back then, but the structure was undeniable. The key facts and the ones I've been sharing became 100% certain to me. And now, this is one thing I want to bring into focus in this episode, which is very important for everybody, because this was like a huge trigger for people to be waking up. This started it all. Even though like in the 70s and stuff, people were exposing all this, writing books, like they've been doing their stuff for a long time. But this was the first at this magnitude, and especially because television now is just like boom, boom, boom. 9/11 was an inside job. You know, I don't think most people realize how much this shakes our reality. You know, that the world's most powerful government pulled off such a bold move and got away with it. It's unthinkable.
Do you really think that they got away with it, though?
Yeah, well, they did it, and they convinced, you know, they're not in jail, are they? You know?
Right, I guess so. And I guess, like, even from that, like, they were able to implement all of these insane, like, security measures and whatnot at the borders and at airports and blah, blah, blah. So
absolutely,
they were able to make us fear each other. And
this is a big ceremony.
The Taliban.
And so this isn't speculation, what we're talking about. It's fact. If you've done the research, you know most Americans today don't even believe the official story.
No.
So I'm just going to go over a few of the many facts that destroy the mainstream narrative. And the first one is the Twin Towers fell at free fall speed. Like, that's impossible with these planes to hit them, and then they say that the fuel were so hot that it melted the beams, which just doesn't happen. Like, I've seen the steel experts talking about all this, and they're like, that's impossible for that to happen, first of all. And second of all, the people that the steel workers that made the building said, we made this building to withstand multiple impacts. There's no way that it can fall at all. And no steel frame building has ever fallen from fire in the history of the world.
It's insane. It's
You know?
steel. So, like, the Twin Towers fell because it was a controlled demolition.
Absolutely. Like, even you can see little explosions going down as the building's coming down, and like people testifying that they heard bombs going off, and they didn't just use bombs and everything. They used some sort of nitrate, some sort of substance that just melts the steel. Like, and it was very toxic, and there's a lot of reports about how people got really sick because they used that stuff, and it was all this pulverized everything into this white powder. So it's like the buildings fell at free fall speed with symmetrical precision. And now also Building 7, which was never hit by a plane, collapsed hours later in the exact same fashion. And this housed all the CIA secrets and all that crap. So, they wanted to bury all that stuff. So they're like, let's get rid of Building 7 too.
What about the fact that when you watch the footage of the plane, quote unquote, hitting the buildings, it's like very obviously that mathematically the angle in which it looked to have hit and was like mathematically impossible. Are you going to touch on that?
There's a lot of things I can touch on. It wasn't in my list, but
anyways, I find that to be interesting. Like, anybody could just look it up. It's like when you watch it now with these fresh eyes, you're like, what? It's like very bad after effects. Like, if you were watching a movie and that was what was happening for the major catastrophic action scene, you'd be like, this movie sucks. You know what I mean?
And also, the security was downgraded before the event. George Bush's brother, Marvin Bush, he was the one, it was his company, his security company was overseeing the World Trade Center security. Entire floors were shut down at a time. Bomb-sniffing dogs were removed. Like, it's highly suspect.
Very.
This is how they were able to put the demolition charges in there, because whole floors would be, cut off. Now, also, the Pentagon, there was no plane at the Pentagon. Like, there's no visible wreckage. At the news, they held up like one piece of a plane. Like, there's nothing else. There's no wing marks, no engines, no bodies. Likely there was no plane at all, but possibly a cruise missile. That's what a lot of people believe hit the Pentagon. Now, also, there was simultaneous military drills that were taking place with the exact same scenario of hijacked planes hitting a building. Like, this is very typical. When they're doing a false flag and everything, they confuse everything by doing drills of the exact same thing that's happening. They had Operation Vigilant Guardian, Operation Northern Vigilance, and also an NRO drill involving a plane crash.
What's an NRO?
I don't know. That's just the acronym that they put in there.
Oh.
Yeah. I think it's Northern... I don't know. It's something like NORAD. Anyways, NORAD, which is, where the planes come and, respond to any threat, the jets, they were told to stand down. Like, if a plane flies off course, even for 5 minutes around any important target, there's jets there, fighter jets ready to shoot it down. There's no way that these planes are hijacked. They would have known about the hijacking, and there would have been fighters right beside them. Like, why didn't that happen? This is America, like the most advanced military information complex in the world. If that happened, there would have been planes there to shoot down these things before they ever got anywhere near New York City. Like, that's just a fact.
Yeah.
Now, there's insider trading going on. They put options were placed on the airlines days before the attack, betting they would fall, and they did. Now we also got Osama.
Wait a second here. What do you mean put options were placed on the airlines?
Yeah, so basically, I think it's United Airlines and the other airlines.
Uh-huh.
Put option is when you're betting that it's going to go down.
Oh.
So they knew it was going to happen, so they put these put options on it and they profited. I don't know all the ins and outs out of it, but that's what happened, and it was on record.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people that were tipped off and told not to go in. These high-level people working in the World Trade Center, like all the bigwigs never turned up that day. Osama bin Laden was trained by the CIA.
CAA.
CAA, the
Make sure
Canadian
you have yours.
Automobile Association. But years later, even after his alleged death, his body was conveniently dumped at sea, if it was even him. I don't even believe it was him. I think he's still out there somewhere, personally.
Better be living his best life.
Now, this is something that I just found out recently when researching this, but the debris from the towers was immediately shipped overseas. So they basically, and it was done under very strict security. So they had like the strictest protocol. They took all the debris, put them in shipping containers and whatever, and then took it away overseas.
Oh my gosh, that's like the most obvious. We're trying to cover something up play that you could possibly do. Oh my gosh, I didn't know that either. That's wild.
Yeah. And just tons of witnesses were ignored. Experts were silenced. The mainstream...
You're speaking to your microphone, babe.
Witnesses were ignored. Experts were silenced. And the mainstream refused to debate the evidence. They're just complete whitewashing of everything and just the gaslighting of anybody that would bring up anything. There's literally hundreds of hardcore facts that contradict the official story. There's countless books, videos, whistleblower accounts available. If you still believe the narrative, you haven't done the research. I didn't know what a false flag was before this, but now I do. And since then, we've seen them used over and over to push the agenda.
Yeah.
The world changed after 9/11. The Patriot Act, like as Julie was saying, the mass surveillance, endless wars, global policy, governments expanding power under the guise of protection. Totally different. This flying is completely different now.
I feel like a criminal.
Yeah.
Like we're doing something wrong for wanting to go on a vacay.
It's crazy. And anyone who opposes the narrative becomes radical by the mainstream media, or even labeled a domestic terrorist. People were added to no-fly lists. Free speech was crushed. Fear became the norm. Welcome to the New World Order. So let me ask you, what do you believe about 9/11? Do you still believe the official story at this point? If so, just turn this off. Seriously, go watch your favorite TV show and just live in La La Land. It's okay. But if you even slightly question it, I encourage you to keep going. Why does it matter? Because it proves that the most powerful government in the world with the most powerful military is not on your side. It's willing to sacrifice lives, start wars, and destroy freedoms for its own agenda. If you accept that, your worldview changes forever. It proves there is a shadow government. It proves the New World Order is real. They sell your freedom and democracy while they rob you of both. They tell you your vote matters, but they've already chose the outcome. The evidence of 9/11 shatters trust in every other institution. Once you see it, you realize nothing is as it seems. Smart people saw it 25 years ago. What about you? Are you young? Are you just waking up now? Some people, this is a long distant thing that was in the history books. You didn't experience it. It happened 10 years after you were born. But now that evidence is there, and along with everything else that you're seeing now. You have to realize the big events and put it all together in the big picture. So if you don't wake up soon, it'll be too late. This is the last train out. If you didn't wake up after 9/11, you didn't wake up during COVID, there may not be another train coming. But I believe if you're listening to this, you're still open. You're still asking questions, and that's why we're here to give answers. We spent 25 years researching, listening, reading, watching, praying, and I believe with every fiber of my being, what we're telling you is the truth. You don't have to take my word for it. Go out and test it. Dig into every claim that we make. Watch the documentaries. Read the reports. Follow the money. Trace the agenda. But be warned, once you see it, you can't unsee it. I bet my life on this truth. Will you bet yours that I'm wrong? So, this is the second installment of System Error.
Yes. Thank you so much, Adam, for all of this knowledge that you brought to the table. It's super, super great. That's one of the things that I love so much about being married to you, is that you remember all these fine details. Like for me, I learn these things it comes in, the truth sets me free, and I just forget about them. Like, I don't need to know. I don't really care about the details at all anymore. And so this has been great even for me to be co-hosting this with you, because it reminded me of some of these ridiculous facts that these New World Order sociopaths are just laying on the table, spreading it on thick, pumping it in our faces. And it's disturbing to be reminded. And it's also disturbing anytime I happen to see a television that is turned on to see that there is yet again nothing new under the sun. And they're constantly going to do it and play it this way, because if it ain't broke, no need to fix it. And they got a good thing going.
All right, and we'll see you next time as we uncover the details of the New World Order.
And we're going to be going with, the global grid of control as our next topic?
Something like that.
All right. Well, until then, friends, stay awake, stay bold, stay human.
And live dangerously.
Live dangerously. System error. System error. System error. System error. There's an error in the system.